Hades is a game with a great story. If you want a challenge, you can definitely jump in blind and figure things out as you go. But if that story has taught us anything, it's that when you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with getting a helping hand. So here are my top 10 plus 2 tips to help you escape from hell. I know there's a lot here, so feel free to use the chapters to jump around between the tips. Pick whichever one's most relevant to you at any given time. After all, you can always come back later and listen to another one, and you don't want to overload yourself with too much information. I included a lot of tips here so people would have diverse options, but I know it can be a little bit overwhelming at first, so take your time, ease into it. Starting with tip number 1. The first thing to get used to in playing Hades is death isn't the end. After all, Zagreus is mostly immortal, so you're going to die a lot in your various attempts to escape from hell. But death doesn't necessarily mean failure. It's a good opportunity to build relationships with members of a House of Hades, improve your weapons, or practice your combos a little bit on Skelly to have a better run next time. As a bonus tip, whenever you go back, make sure to talk to everyone. You should start giving out Nectar to people early on. When you give someone Nectar for the first time, they'll reward you with a unique keepsake. These keepsakes offer powerful bonuses such as, in some cases, an extra life. The ones I would prioritize in particular as your first couple are Hypnos for the Chthonic coin purse to get 100 extra obols at the start of your run, and Skelly for his tooth, which is that extra life that I was talking about earlier. My second tip is that you should swap your keepsakes early and often. For a long time, I'd use the same keepsake from the start of my run all the way to the end, and while that was really good at progressing that keepsake, it was a bad idea. I would have progressed much faster if I'd varied them up. For example, if you use the Chthonic coin purse as your starting keepsake, you get 100 obols. But once you spend those, or once you've started at all, it doesn't offer any additional benefits. So maybe after you beat the first area, you'll want to switch to Zeus's keepsake, because you want a nice sick Zeus boon. And after that, if you're going into Elysium to progress, you'll want Skelly's tooth, as the extra cheat death is definitely going to help you. It means you can mess up, you can die, and that might not be the end. Not that death is ever, really, the end in Hades. My third tip is to prioritize keys. You can use keys to unlock hidden upgrades in the Mirror of Night, along with new weapons. Try to get at least one Death's Defiance from the Mirror of Night. This is that cheat death that I keep mentioning here. When you die, you'll instead be returned to half health instead of starting back from the River Styx in the House of Hades. This will help a lot when you're struggling with a boss or a given area. On top of this, unlocking new weapons will give you a wider variety of playstyles to choose from, and can really help speed up your darkness progression, which will get you even more upgrades on the Mirror of Night. Tip number 4. When it comes to weapons and playstyles, there's a really good argument for sticking with something you find comfortable, even if it's not the best. But if you're willing to go a little outside that comfort zone, pick up the purple weapon. This will give you more darkness so you can progress your Mirror of Night upgrades faster. The Mirror of Night gives you progression that you carry between your runs, so you should add those bonuses up, and it will take you farther and farther. When you're picking boons, and especially when you're picking upgrades, try to prioritize the Daedalus hammers. These often change the mechanics of how your weapon functions, and can really make or break a run. Tip number 5. If you just wanted a really basic, simple weapon to master that I think's really new player friendly, I have 2 suggestions. The first is Aegis, the shield. It's a great baseline for beginners, it has solid mobility, a ranged special, and you can block, which gives you a ton of extra safety. On the other hand, Koranoct the bow is a little riskier, but it's incredibly strong and relatively straightforward. See enemy, shoot enemy, hit enemy while flashing to do massive damage. Once you unlock aspects, go Aspect of Chaos for the shield, or Aspect of Chiron for the bow. These might not be overall the most powerful aspects, although it's certainly arguable in terms of chaos, but they are very easy to play and beginner-friendly. Tip number 6. When in doubt on boons, picking the highest rarity isn't a bad idea. Boons range from the common variety, which are white, all the way up to legendary, which are orange, with heroic being the highest tier for most boons. And that's kind of a reddish color. Personally, I look for Poseidon and Aphrodite a lot on my main attack. Dionysus is good on anything that hits rapidly, and Hermes has great speed and utility, which will upgrade your character as an all-rounder. Poseidon offers a knockback, so that adds safety to whatever you're doing if you hit an enemy they're knocked away and can't hit you as easily. Aphrodite adds weakness, which causes enemies to deal less damage, so even if you mess up and get hit, it's not going to hurt as much. For my dash, I always try to grab Athena. Athena's special is Deflect. In other words, you're going to dash away from an enemy and watch them punch themselves in the face. Tip number 6. Dash is your best friend. Spam it on cooldown, use it to reposition or move out of danger, and whenever you can, get extra dashes. They're great. Remember that dash has iframes, so it can often be safer to dash directly through an enemy's attack than run away from them in a straight line and have to dodge even after you've used that dash. If you're using it more aggressively, Athena's dash has the added bonus of being able to reflect enemy projectiles and attacks back into their face, which will cause them to deal massive damage and make certain annoying enemies far more trivial. Tip number 8. When approaching a new enemy, remember the purpley pink spots are the dangerous bits. That's what's going to be hurting you, and that's what's going to be sending Zagreus to his untimely demise if you're not careful. Luckily, enemy telegraphs are excellent, so despite the relatively fast pace of the game, you should be able to see what's going on most of the time. Just when there's multiple enemies on screen, try to keep an eye out and hopefully you won't get too overwhelmed. You can always add a little distance or move away from a group of enemies. Also keep an eye out for purple projectiles, as some of these can be destroyed by your attacks, and in some cases it's far easier to destroy an incoming attack rather than attempt to evade it. Tip number 9. Balance your risk and reward. Certain areas, like a Boon of Chaos or a Skull Room, will give you a much more powerful reward. But if you're on low health, it could also cost you a run or cost you a death defy. So when you're high on health, take those risks. Learn those fights, and your run will be better for it. When you're low on health, then look for a Well of Charon and try to snag a healing item. Heal up and prepare for the next challenge. You might be down a few obols, but it'll pay off later in the run when you don't fail to one of those more difficult rooms or to a boss encounter because you went into it with 3 HP. Tip number 10. Health is your most important resource, but it is a resource and can be used. Don't be afraid to spend health, even if it means you might lose some. After every boss fight, there's a healing well, and quite often during your escape attempts, you'll be given access to healing items as well. They're not super common, but they're definitely there. And being aggressive can lead to some epic wins and really push your progress forwards. It would have taken me way longer to beat the final boss if I had just tried to do it safely, if I had stayed and hid and tried to dodge everything, made sure I didn't get hit. Instead, I got in his face, I got aggressive, and yeah, I lost some death defies, I took some damage, but I won, and in the end, it's absolutely worth it. Getting over-aggressive can be bad, but don't be afraid to lose a little health here and there, as it will make your runs smoother, and, in my opinion, way more fun. As a bonus tip, if you're really struggling, turn on God Mode. This is a little boost that the developers put in the menu to give Zagreus a chance to really fight back. And there's no shame in using this. If the devs didn't want you to use God Mode, they wouldn't have put it into the game. So, give that helping hand, be it from some YouTube video tips or the devs themselves. That concludes my 10+2 Hades tips for new players. Let me know which one you found to be most helpful, and also let me know what tips you have for other new players based on your gameplay experiences. Like always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and again, a special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. If you want to support me, you can do so by clicking the links down in the description below or on screen right now. You can also support by making purchases through my Nexus page. Or if you just want to chill and hang out, be sure to join the Discord. Again, links for everything are down in the description below. Thank you, and have a great day.